Welcome in today. Tonight is November 19th. Today is Sunday. We are charting live right here on Forex chat in EZAlgo. First things first, right? We're going to go over some Forex news for the week. This week we do have a holiday. It's Thanksgiving holiday here in the United States. So you will see the New York session being affected by this. We're going to go over through all the days for this week on our Forex calendar. Forex calendar that I use is forexfactory.com, and I usually just go to the week of. I'm putting the link right now into the chat here in Discord, so you guys can definitely check it out and follow along with me. So first things first, the news, right? So we're looking for red folder news in regards to USD. USD mostly due to the fact that it affects all the other pairs. I've traded before other pairs like CHF, CAD, Kiwi, and I thought I was safe during red folder news when it was just USD, and I was like, I'm good, I got this. No, negative. So red folder news comes out, the entire market volatility goes all over the place. So definitely keep an eye on that. Now, if you're also trading other pairs such as GBP, JPY, be very wary of the actual pairs themselves if they're red folders. So if you have red folder news for GBP, or if you have red folder news for JPY, make sure to double check that as well and make sure you're good to go. So always keep an eye on USD for any pair, and always keep an eye on the pairs that you're actually trading. So for this week, Sunday nights, I don't usually trade while I operate in the New York session, right? So I usually do New York session because I'm on the Eastern Standard Time Zone on the East Coast of the United States. So that's usually my favorite session. The other session that I do have access to is going to be the Asian session, but that session is usually more consolidation and manipulation than anything else. Consolidation and accumulation more than anything else, right? So Asian session is pretty much just an accumulation session for me. So I don't usually trade it, but I do observe it throughout the night. So Sunday, no news, CNY. Monday, we do have some news. We have red folder when it comes to GBP. We have red folder on AUD. Be very, very careful with those, okay? Tuesday, you have red folder on CAD, Canadian dollar, and also USD. Be very careful because it's an FOMC meeting minutes, so it's attached to FOMC. Red folder news there, so be very careful trading all pairs when it comes to that, even indices. Wednesday, you're looking at AUD red folder, USD red folder as well. That's a red folder unemployment claim. Be very careful with your pairs and your indices. You also have another red folder news on USD about an hour and a half after that. Canadian dollar, you have red folder on Wednesday as well. Thursday, holiday for the United States. USD, no news, but New York session will be closed. You do have sessions that overlap with the New York session, so the London session will end throughout the New York session, but the New York session will not continue it. So London session is going to close how it usually closes, and that's going to be it until the Asian session kicks in. You do have red folder on Thursday. You have euro. You have two different euros red folder. You have GBP, GBP as well. And then Friday for your red folder, you have euro and you have USD. So be very careful with those. Now, without further ado, let's jump on the charts. All right. So we're gonna start off with NAS. NAS is one of our indices that we usually start off with. I like to do NAS and US30. NAS has been on an incredible bull run recently. Guys, by the way, please let me know if you do see my stream. I don't think Discord is showing it to me right now, but I just want to make sure that it's actually properly displayed for you guys.
Yeah, I can see. Thank you, Mr. Roy. Thank you.
Oh, okay, Roy. Thank you so much for that. So we're going to check out NAS on the futures charts. So I like to usually go on my futures charts because it's a little bit cleaner. If you see over here, this is my actual chart that I trade on. This is on ACAP. Reason I use ACAP is that's usually what my prop firms use, ACAP, and that's what I'm most familiar with. They do offer other brokers like Think Markets and Purple Trading, I think it's called, and then some others. But ACAP is usually like the industry standard when it comes to prop firms, and it's what I'm comfortable with and what I'm used to. Now, the indicators that I use, EZAlgo. EZAlgo marks out all my levels for me, and then also EZAlgo SMC marks out all the market structure shifts, breaker structures, fair value gaps, etc. And we also have this nice little trend line right here when it comes to EZAlgo. helps keep everything in bias. Now we're checking out here NASDAQ on the futures chart, right? So this massive bull run over here, we've been waiting for it to somewhat slow down, and it looks like it might actually be slowing down and hit its peak over here. It had an insane growth over such a short period of time, and we were marking out all these fair value gaps on the daily. We were marking out the fair value gaps on the 4 hour and the 1 hour, trying to catch it as a re-entry for a long, but it's just blasting through everything and not really retracing. Now over here, it looks like we are retracing, right? So this is on the daily time frame. You're gonna see right over here in the decision candle that wicked inside this point of interest, which was a supply zone. You have an order block over here as well. We can disable that actually. We're not gonna use order blocks. We're gonna mark out all the points of interest, right? So we do have a fair value gap over here. Let's mark this one out. This is gonna be on the daily. We're gonna color it blue because we still are bullish, even though these candles are showing bearish structure. We still are bullish on the daily until we break market structure shift, right? Until we come right back down underneath here, and then we're officially a market structure shift bearish. We're gonna zoom in a little bit and mark out this fair value gap. %50 mark is going to be over here at 15717.50. We're going to do Alt H, mark this out, and we're going to color it blue for bullish, and we're going to label it daily fair value gap 50%. That's going to be our beautiful point of interest right there, right over here. We see it testing out, consolidating. Who knows what's going to happen, right? Especially where the way NAS has been moving. It's been just blasting through all the zones previously. We did have a trend, a bearish trend, but it blasted through it and closed above it. So that's been invalidated. Let's go down to the 4 hour time frame to see a little bit clearer. Do we have a break of structure? We do not. We see there's a nice little consolidation over here. And depending where it ends up, if it closes above or if it closes below, it's really what's going to determine like what's going to happen. But it's still very indecisive with these candles right over here. You did have a fair, no, you didn't have a fair value gap there. Yeah, you don't really have much of anything. It's just consolidation. So daily fair value gap right over here, also overlapping with the 4 hour full value gap. So instead of marking it out, we're just going to label this together. Daily fair value gap 50%, 4 hour as well. Two different fair value gaps overlapping each other. That's a nice little confluence. We're gonna look left as well. On this line, what do we see? We see candles closing above it. We see candles closing below it. Market structure shift here as well. And then closing below and closing above. Looks like a nice little area of confluence and a nice little point of interest right there. So we're gonna keep that one there active. We're gonna keep an eye on that as well. We're gonna set an alert, right? So we're gonna set an alert to 15/7/1750, and we're gonna watch that. So this is the futures chart. So this is like the real deal Holyfield when it comes to the charts, when it comes to NAS. So this is what I usually watch first, and then ACAP usually follows afterwards. So you might even get into a nicer entry when it comes to like the Forex charts, due to the fact that there is a slight delay in the price action for it to come down. Looking underneath that, on the 4 hour, we have this fair value gap over here. It looks like this one has been mitigated actually. Let's try it out. Let's check it out. Yeah, it's been tapped in and mitigated. 50% was tapped into, and then a continuation for the bullish pattern, for the bullish trend, excuse me. We have a fair value gap over here. We should see some kind of movement. This one has not been tested before or after this candle. And then same thing here. This 50% mark is still good. So there's a fair value gap right here, and then over here, and then you have a fair value gap over here. So you have a nice little area right here. You should see some kind of movement. So this area here Let's see. We're going to highlight this fair value gap over here. We're going to mark that one out. We're going to label it as well. It's a 4-hour fair value gap. This one is at exactly 15,300, which is a bank level. Bank levels are going to be pretty much like rounded off to the nearest 100 when it comes to NAS. So for example, 15,300, 15,200, 15,400. These are traditionally just bank levels. So that's what we're going to go for. We're going to label this one. This is a 4-hour fair value gap 50%. We also have sell side liquidity right underneath that as well. If you have EZAlgo, you have access to EZAlgo and EZSMC, and this will be drawn out automatically for you. You also have an order block right over here that we would love to keep an eye on. This one has a 25.38% chance of rejecting from it. So we definitely want to keep an eye on that one as well. So for this order block, we're going to highlight this order block, and I'm going to give you the coordinates for it as well. Because it might actually just wick through it, tap into this order block, and continue on the upward trend. So this order block, mind you, the whole order block is active. Coordinates for this order block are 15272.50, and the bottom of the order block is 15235. We're going to label it as well. We should see some kind of reaction in that area. This fair value gap is mitigated. This fair value gap is a long way down. We have a bunch of other fair value gaps over here on the 4-hour. We're just gonna mark these few right here because we don't want to get too ahead of ourselves, right? So let's mark this one over here as well. This is gonna be the last one we mark on the 4-hour fair value gap. This one's going to be at 1,500. We have to drop $800 on NAS in order to get down here, about $865. So it's still got a long way to go. We're still going to label it though. Keep an eye on it because the way NAS has been moving lately, it might just violently just drop out of nowhere and clear out a couple percentage candles. So we might actually be able to see that in a week, but who knows, right? NAS has been moving just so violently lately. Coordinates for this one will be 15052.25. Bottom of the fair value gap, it's 14964.75. Halfway point of this one, we're going to mark it Alt H. You're looking at 15008.75. We're going to also label that for our fair value gap 50%. Going to move into the 1 hour. Let's try to find some confluences when it comes to the NAS chart. Now the confluences we usually want to focus on where we've previously marked out. So daily, 4 hour, and then also 1 hour. Fair value gaps all overlap. The 50% almost overlaps completely identical with the fair value gap on the 1 hour. We're gonna keep it right here, right? We're also gonna label that 1 hour, and it's fairly close enough. So we have 3 different confluences right there. We have daily, 4 hour, and 1 hour as the confluences for this fair value gap over here. Set your alerts on this. Remember, it's 15717.50. You might see some violent reaction upwards in a bullish trend, right? But watch it carefully. This point of interest right here is going to be very, very high probability. Whatever strategy you're using, definitely keep an eye on this little area here, because this could play out very well for you. We also have here on the 1 hour, and then we also have here on the 4 hour and 1 hour. Both of these overlap together, so we're going to mark that 4 hour fair value gap, 1 hour fair value gap, both of them at the 50%, overlapping beautifully. This order block over here overlaps with this 1 hour fair value gap as well, right? So we're going to set an alert on this one. 2 different confluences. It's an order block and also a fair value gap on the 1 hour. And then let's not ignore this 1 hour as well. And then with those, we should be good to go. This is on the 1 hour. Let's set an alert. Alt H, you're looking at 15414.75. And we set an alert for this one. Yeah, we set an alert for that one. All right, so we identified fair value gaps on the daily time frame, which is this one, the closest one that we have. We've also identified, let's see, this is also a daily fair value gap. So let's highlight this one as well. Once again, this is a pretty far out, right? So we're looking at $700 right there on NAS for it to drop. So we want to focus on this one over here. But let's mark out both of them just in case, right? Let's always be very cautious because a lot could happen throughout this week. Usually we're expecting lower volatility, lower volume because it is a holiday weekend in the United States for the New York session. So we want to go with that, right? Friday is Black Friday, Thursday is Thanksgiving. But who knows in this market condition, right? So this daily fair value gap identified, marked 15136.25. That's our top of the fair value gap. Bottom of the fair value gap is 15012. And yeah, that's it. That's it for the daily, 4 hour and 1 hour. So that's pretty much what we're looking at when it comes to NAS. These are our closest points of interest. This is what it looks like on the weekly. On the weekly time frame, it looks like it might actually just be completely out of gas finally after just pumping through every single point of interest on the way up. So we might actually be getting a reversal right here. We'll see. We got to see how the weekly candle closes, and then yeah, we'll go forward from there. But on the daily 4 hour and 1 hour, we're looking at these points of interest. We're still bullish. We haven't broken the market structure shift yet. We haven't broken the to the downside. So we should definitely still continue with the trend. Now, we've identified the daily, we've identified the 4 hour, and we've also identified the 1 hour on NAS. Does anybody have any questions for me in regards to NAS?
No, sir.
Awesome. Let me get a thumbs up in the chat, 2 thumbs up, and I'll move on to the next one, which is going to be gold. Beautiful. 1 thumbs up. Two thumbs up. There we go. All right, moving on to gold. Gold. I love gold. So we are looking on the weekly chart. Weekly chart looks wild, but it looks like it's finally out of gas, right? So on the weekly chart, you're going to see over here, we did mark this out. This is a daily point of interest, daily fair value gap that we had. We marked it out on the live stream about 2 weeks ago, and we identified that point of interest, right? We also have a fair value gap over here as well that's not been mitigated, and it actually hit over here, right? Let me remove this. I don't want you guys to get confused. And look how beautiful this is. So this is a 4 hour fair value gap, 3 different fair value gaps overlapping areas. It actually broke through it. So by breaking through it, really like mitigated it. So we can remove that. But I wanted to leave it there for you guys so you guys can see. It broke through this 4 hour fair value gap 50%. It was 3 different overlapping fair value gaps. It was 4 hour, 1 hour, and 15 minute. And what happened was it broke right straight through it. But then it came right back up, created a fair value gap around the same area. But now we're looking at bullish. And then this one's still active. It hasn't been mitigated yet. Over here, we're operating in a fair value gap as well. And then you have this area over here that we also identified previously. So we're going to remove this over here. This has been mitigated. This has been mitigated. We're going to clean up the charts a little bit. Right, we were looking for some shorts over here. And we actually did get some, but on a lower time frame, right? Right now we're looking at the dailies. We're going to clean up the charts a little bit. And we're going to focus on, so this area here has been mitigated. This has been mitigated as well. So we're going to identify this fair value gap over here, and we're going to mark it. Looks like even though we're getting a pullback over here, we are still bullish. We have a fair value gap here on the left, and then we have a 4-hour fair value gap there as well. We have a weekly fair value gap over here. So this one we also identified. Blasted right through it though. Completely just obliterated it. And then it's still active. So this weekly fair value gap over here, if you haven't marked it already, weekly fair value gap 50% is 1879.49. That one is still active. So we're still good to go when it comes to that. Dailies. Let's mark out this one over here. We're going to be looking for long positions. We're still very, very bullish. So we're looking at 1952.43. We're going to mark that out. We're going to set alerts. And then we're going to also label this as well. Daily fair value gap 50%. That looks pretty good. It looks insane how it just... So this was a fair value gap on a lower time frame, and it just wicked, tapped into it and came right back down. That's insane. I'm gonna color that one red. We're fixing to do a lower high right here. This is lower high on the daily. So we're gonna be looking for our entries over here at 1952.43. We're still bullish. Let's go down to 4-hour. Check it out. We are inside a fair value gap right now, 4-hour fair value gap. Wild. And it tapped in exactly at the 50% mark. It's crazy. This is a 4-hour fair value gap. Looks pretty good. So this one's at 1973.92. It looks like it's already tapped and mitigated. Definitely keep an eye on it. Let's see what happens next. If it closes below the fair value gap, okay, the actual candle, the body of the candle, then we should be looking for it to go into this order block over here, and then the next order block, while targeting the daily fair value gap 50%, which is right over here. So ideally, if a candle closes right below this fair value gap here, this is already mitigated because it tapped into 50%. But once it closes to a candle closes, the body closes below this fair value gap, then we should be looking for it to seek the daily fair value gap. We should be very comfortable with that. And then after that, you have the weekly fair value gap 50%. So it's going to target these two levels over here. Over here, the fair value gap also overlaps, right, with the 4-hour fair value gap. So the daily and the 4-hour overlapping right over here. So we're also going to mark that here too. I'm going to put on the text. Let's see, where I got you at. Daily 4-hour fair value gap. And that one looks really good to me. So, not my suggestion, but it looks really, really good as a point of entry to me.
I'm running out of 10 bucks.
I'm going to set the structure to structure. So I'm going to set that there on the 4-hour. If you want to copy me, you're more than welcome to. This is not a suggestion. This is just what I'm looking at right now. It looks like a high probability play. We are very, very bullish. Looks like we're going to do a nice little retracement, tap into that daily / 4-hour fair value gap, and then use that liquidity to continue an upward trend, and then probably just consolidate there for a while. But what we're looking at is an entry at 1952.21, and then take profit at 1985.36. Stop level 1944.62. Market's going to do whatever it wants, but I feel confident that this actually might play out. I'm saving this. I'm going to input into my MetaTrader a little bit later. And yeah, I'm going to continue observing this during the Asian session and see where London wants to take it. Hopefully it takes it to this daily 4-hour fair value gap, and then once New York session kicks in tomorrow, just rockets up. In a perfect world, right? Check out 1 hour. What's the 1 hour look like? 1 hour, we have a market structure shift, leaving behind bearish fair value gaps. So we actually might even move this up a little bit more. So instead of targeting the structure, we're going to target that fair value gap in the 1 hour. Squeeze out a little bit more profit out of it. We have this gap of the market. If I zoom in a little bit further, you're going to notice as well, this is when the market opened. Market open, and then you have this gap here. This gap here should act as a fair value gap. It should tap into 50% of it and then cause the market to continue moving downwards. This is on the 1 hour. And you're watching this live, right? So the gap should react. This is an hour candle. In 53 minutes, if this candle closes below this, then it's been mitigated and it's going to continue on to bearish momentum. If not, then this fair value gap is going to convert into a bullish fair value gap, because you're going to have this gap here and whatever else forms. But for now, it's struggling to break through. As you can see, in a perfect world, it's going to close below it and then continue downward movement, and then hopefully go to our point of interest. But definitely observe this. This is the gap in the market open, which was 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time over here in New York session. And the coordinates for that gap is 1979.95. The bottom of that is 1978.78. All right, so we identified a couple points of interest. We identified the daily, the 4 hour, and the weekly. We're observing only those few for now. It hasn't been that volatile as it usually is, even though it's these massive candles on the daily. But it looks like it's going to continue its upward movement. It's just doing a retracement right now to collect more liquidity. And we might actually see a retest our levels up here at 1995 and also the levels at 2000, 2000 flat, 2004. Does anybody have any questions for gold for me? If not, give me 2 thumbs up in the Discord, and then I'll move on to the next, which is going to be Euro USD, which is slowly becoming one of my favorite pairs. Cool. Moving on to Euro USD. Also, before I move on, make sure to set your alerts, right? So that's one thing it looks like I did skip over. Sorry about that. We're going to set alerts at these key levels. Please, please, please make sure you have alerts at the weekly 50%. That's going to be a huge, huge play. That's 1942.87. And then you also have another weekly fair value gap, 1879.49. Make sure to have those marked and make sure you have your alerts set for those. Oops. Wrong button. Cool. Moving on to Euro USD. Euro USD on the daily. Right? So on Euro USD, we were looking for a short position over here. We did have a fair value gap over here on a lower time frame, about 4 hour, but blasted right through it. Look at that gigantic candle. Over here, it did mitigate it, so it did react to it. So that was pretty much it. Once that hit, it was fair game after that. Let's remove this. Let's clean it up a little bit. Going to remove this as well. That was a point of interest I was looking at. Fair value gaps we are definitely paying attention to are going to be this one over here, down here, and then this one over here as well. We're going to mark this one out first because it's the closest one to us. Top will be 1.08314. The bottom of that will be 1.07067. Halfway point, we're going to do Alt H. We're looking for longs. Continuation for this. It's got a while to go. It has a while to go to get to this bearish fair value gap. So we're going to identify this right over here. We're going to set an alert. We're looking at 1.07690. That's going to be our entry for a long position. Make sure to follow your strategy. Whatever strategy you have, as long as it's profitable for you, stick to it. Our entries are going to be paced on a lower time frame. When it comes to the entries, I usually do 5 or 15 minute, depending how choppy it is on the 5 minute, and then I'll switch over to like the 15 minute if it is choppy. If not, clean charts, 5 minutes, that's usually what I go for my points of entry. We've identified 1.07690. That's going to be the 50% on the daily fair value gap. We're going to label that as well. Daily 50% fair value gap. We have a buy side liquidity right over here. We have a nice little pocket fair value gap over here. I'm going to highlight this one. We're going to definitely watch this. We should get a nice little reaction off this. This is why alerts are so important, because you can catch these daily fair value gaps on the lower time frames. As long as you're setting the alerts for them. So that looks like it's the next point that we're going to, right? That's the next zone. Top of that, 1.09670, if you see on the right side of my screen. And the bottom of that is 1.09597. Halfway mark, we're going to mark it out, Alt H. I'm going to color it red, because in theory it should reject off that. Oops, that was my text. And that's a daily fair value gap, 50%. Halfway mark is 1.09634. If you actually want your rectangle tool to have that already, the 50% mark, make sure to put middle line, right? Select that, put middle line, and then you can either do dash, line, right? Dotted line. I like the dash. Let's go highlight the next fair value gap, the bearish one, which is really high up here. Right? These have wicked into the fair value gap, but haven't been mitigated at the 50% mark. So this should, in theory, still be active. This one's marked out. Top is 1.11741. Bottom is 1.11447.
Always worth the chase.
I'm going to drag it out a little bit, and we're going to label it. Halfway mark is 1.11596. Daily fair value got 50%. And we're going to watch those 2 points of interest up here. So these are very, very important points of interest. We're looking at bearish points of interest. Let's see. And then this one was actually the official market structure shift when it did this daily fair value gap. So that's what we should definitely be keeping an eye on that one for. Still has a bit of movement to go through this buy side liquidity, which is also a supply zone before getting up here. But in theory, it should break through this, should consolidate for a bit underneath, manipulation by breaking through, tapping into that, and then displacement down violently. We are in a downtrend, so we should still be in a downtrend. No, we're breaking through. Yeah, we're breaking through, so we are bullish. So depending on how we react to these two zones, we are expected to continue going up, but we should definitely see some kind of reaction on the lower time frames at these two different points of interest. Let's go down to 4 hours and see what's up. 4 hour continuation of the long. Let's identify this area here. This is on the 4 hour.
Just barely close to the next time.
This looks pretty good. Hey, yeah, 19, can you please mute your mic? I hear your TV in the background. Top of this level, this fair value gap, it's 1.08884. The bottom of it is 1.08774. I'm going to color that blue because we are looking for longs. This might be the nice little re-entry for us on that move up. I'm going to color the line blue as well. 50% mark is at 1.08830. We're going to also label that as well together. So that's going to be the 4-hour fair value gap, 50%. Set an alert. I'm going to watch it when it enters that area. Let's go down to 1 hour. 1 hour, it's an order block there, but it's not really a fair value gap. On the 1 hour, you have a fair value gap over here. Let's identify that one as well. We can see some reaction to it. So like I said, like in a perfect world, we should get some accumulation here and then break through, tap into that, and then come down. So that's what we're looking for. 1 hour fair value gap, you are looking at the coordinates for the top. 1.08951. Bottom of it is 1.08905. Halfway point, Alt H, 1.08927. That's our halfway point. We're also going to set an alert. So we have two different zones right over here. We have the 1 hour fair value gap 50%. And then we have the 4 hour fair value gap 50%. Both pretty close to our price action at the moment. So we're going to keep an eye on those on the lower time frames. That's where we're going to go in for our entries. Now, just for fun, we're going to see it on the 15 minutes. So the 1 hour fair value gap overlaps the 15-minute fair value gap as well. We're going to label that. That should be a nice little confidence right there. The 4 hour fair value gap has a 15-minute fair value gap underneath it as well. So this area as a whole looks pretty good. This one is beautiful because they overlap perfectly. The 50% mark on the 1 hour and the 50% mark on the 15-minute overlaps perfectly with this. Now if we draw some fibs, we should see some more confluence as well. Draw from here to the pullback here. And then you can see like my fibs, my 0.79 line overlaps with this 15-minute fair value gap, and my 0.705 overlaps perfectly, right? I can't even select it because it's right on top of it, with the 4 hour fair value gap 50% mark. So we should definitely see some kind of movement here, right? We are bullish, so we're looking for a tap into this area and then continuation to the upside. But we got to see how the price action wants to move, right? We'll keep an eye on that. So we've identified the areas on the daily, we've identified the areas on the 4 hour, we've identified on the 1 hour, and then also some confluences on the 15 minutes. We're still longing, we're still bullish, we're still very, very bullish. But we have two different areas over here, daily fair value gap and also this daily fair value gap, that we're looking for some kind of reaction to it once we get into that zone. If we do reject off it, we should get a nice little retracement back down, and we should be able to get a nice chunk of change out of that. Now, it could also just blast right through it like it did over here. I did have a daily fair value gap aligned over here, and then it just blasted right through it. So now it became a new daily fair value gap. Now for Euro USD, does anybody have any questions for Euro USD? For my late joiners, I will be uploading this on YouTube. So right after this, I'll throw it onto my editor and then just send it over to the YouTube, and then I'll post it over into the Forex chat and then also the Pro chat for you guys to watch at your own leisure. And if I'm moving a little bit too fast, no worries. You can just check out the YouTube channel and then get all the coordinates that you need to also be paying attention for the points of interest. Let me get a thumbs up that we're good on Euro USD from you guys. and then we'll go to the next pair, which will be crowd's choice. You guys give me a pair, and then we'll go through it together and we'll analyze it. Awesome, thumbs up. Let me get a pair suggestion.
GBP USD.
GBP USD, you got it. Oof. Sorry, my chart's a little messy, but this has been mitigated. I got a really nice short right over here, but I had to remove my stop loss. Let me actually clean up this chart because this looks really bad. Alright, cool. We're watching GBP USD right now on the daily. This fair value gap is still not mitigated, right? So we have two different fair value gaps right here on the daily. Gigantic candle right here on Tuesday. Let's label these two, and we're going to play around in this area. We should be seeing a retracement soon, because I was able to short it right over here actually on Wednesday. So it should be able to tap like in this area here. This is already mitigated, the fair value gap, if you can see over here on the left hand side. I do have this labeled as well, GBP USD. Why though? Don't remember. This is why I need to label better. It's always super important to label, especially if you have like a lot going on in your charts, so that way when your alerts actually do kick in, you know what to do. So this area here, we have identified the top of the fair value gap of the daily. We're looking at 1.24043. The bottom of it is 1.22807. Alright, so the area, the point of interest that we want to play in, it's going to be the halfway point. That's going to be the deciding factor. We are so bullish, so I'm coloring it blue. I'm just going to label it. And my daily fair value at 6%. Coordinate for that is 1.23425. And we also have another fair value gap over here. We're going to identify this one as well. Coordinates for the top of that fair value gap is 1.22593. The bottom of it is 1.22379. And then the daily fair value gap 50% is 1.22493. These are our points of interest, of course, to keep an eye on for a continuation to the upside. This would actually be a better entry over here. I like it. I do like it a lot better. Yeah. I do like it a lot better because there's a lot of more price action over here in this area. Yeah, there's a lot going on in this area. So how far up do I think it's going to go? It's got some movement, man. So we pull it up on the weekly, right? Structure to structure. You have all this movement to go. So you have all that to go. You have this here. This is like the only resistance if you were to consider this order block, which is right over here, 1.26541. Remember, I'm using EZAlgo, and I'm using EZAlgo SMC to get this level automatic. So this order block states it's a 42% probability that it's going to reject off it. So you have from where you are right now to where this order block is. I'll tell you exactly how much percentage that is. It's probably like 4%. No, not even. It's 1.5%. So that's a pretty long way to go. And then going from structure to structure, because over here you can see, tap into this order block, reject it off it, continuation in the upside. Weekly, you're in a bullish trend. Right? Accumulation over here. Just continuation to the top. Where we're at now and where you want to go, you're looking at 5% from structure to structure. From structure to structure. So we have all that to go. Now this little, moving up on the weekly. But definitely, this is where we want it to go. These two levels, 1.26541, and then also 1.30.
The darkness creeps, the story unfolds. Lost in the maze of a twisted mind, haunted by shadows, even me blind. Hunted by shadows deep in the night, my eyes wide open, searching for light. The fear grips my soul, let me go. Hunted by shadows into the unknown.
Structure, and then depending how it reacts there, then you'll see it's slowly bullish, or we can start looking for more short positions. So once it gets here, then we'll open the flag is going to be open here. So we want to keep on here, we want to put it so the areas are this is it. So this is going to take a while to get up here. Yeah, we can also leave it over here too. You can probably leave it like a little runner over here until it comes to 10%, but I would say full take profit over here. Because you never know, it could actually just break through and continue to do 4 hour, 4 hours overlapping. Also has a full this has been mitigated.
Underneath the stars where the night is cold, in the dark of night the demons hide bold. A dance of shadows with the rising sun, whispers in the dark, a battle to be won. My eyes wide open, heart starts to pound. In the time of darkness fear makes a sound. When the sun descends and the shadows creep, whispers in the dark coming from the deep. Whispers in the dark, a challenge and a call. Break through the fear, let us stand tall. Through the darkest nights we'll face every fear. Whispers in the dark are always near.
We should be
a sound when the sun descends and shadows creep. Whispers in the dark coming from the deep. Whispers in the dark, a challenge and a call. Break through the fear, let us stand tall. Through the darkest nights, we'll face every fear. Whispers in the dark are always
does anybody have any questions for me with regards to GBP USD? Get some thumbs up in the chat. Alright, looks like we are good to go when it comes to GBP USD. Let's open the floor for just a few minutes of questions. Does anybody have any questions for me in regards to charting, looking at points of details, market flow, price action, technical analysis? Speak now if I go for the piece. Oh, no worries. Yeah, I can definitely put in the settings right over here. So these are my input settings. I'll actually take some screenshots of it. We do have a tutorial on EZAlgo where it walks you through like what each setting actually means. But for all intents and purposes, we're actually going to, let's see, setting. I'm gonna post the screenshots over here in the chat for you. You're welcome. That's that. Levels. And then the most important thing that I'm using from EZAlgo V10, it's a reversal indicator. For me, it's like super golden. And I'll show you how my EZAlgo. I changed the colors to blue and gray. Because apparently, you know, the psychology and all that. Seeing red is like a thing. I'm anxious enough as a person as it is. So I was like, you know what, let me just put two neutral colors and just call it a day. So here's this part. There's actually a ton of stuff that you can do with EZAlgo, right? So there's a bunch of tutorial videos on the EZAlgo YouTube that you can definitely check out. I'm also going to upload one as well, going to EZAlgo and the settings that I have. But it also depends on your strategy, because some strategies, if you do research trading concepts, you're not going to really tap into the small money concept indicator, and then vice versa. So you can definitely tap into like a trend line or like the reversals indicator when you're doing SMC and small money concept. It does help you see things a little bit clearer and cut a little bit of noise. Now guys, thank you very much for joining me this Sunday. Same time, same place next week. It's going to be hosted at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, New York session. We're going to go over the charts for that week. So for this week, we've identified NAS, we've identified gold, Euro USD, and GBP USD. Hopefully you guys set your alerts right, you're able to trade those on a lower time frame, and you are profitable. Have a great profitable week, and remember, always keep an eye on the news. Before you even jump on the charts, check the news for the day, make sure the pairs that you're trading are not affected by the news. Thank you very much everyone, and have a great trading week and a great evening as well. Bye bye for now.